Hi folks, this is AppShocker, a channel about how to program smartphone applications. The first few weeks I will publish a series of iPhone app programming episodes. Each episode will deal with one or more topics important for creating iPhone or iPad apps. As this channel is dedicated to beginners as well as to advanced or professional software engineers, I will start off with easier topics. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to talk about more difficult ones. Hence, in this first video, I'm not going to talk about every detail regarding the software developing aspect, as I intend to show beginners how to get a quick result. However, in the upcoming episodes, I will reveal more details about different software developing techniques, because you will need to write clean code if you want to develop more complex apps. As a result, I'm going to show you how to write a very simple app, which will display 3 essential user interface elements. In this case, we will create a UILabel, a UITextfield, and a UIButton. Also, we will use a UIButton in order to display the text coming from a UITextfield onto a UILabel. And lastly, I will also show you how to close the keyboard of your iPhone app when you want to introduce some text into your UITextfield. Okay, let's just start off with a new project. So first of all, open up Xcode. So it's already open in this case, and let's just create a new project via File, New, Project. Okay, in this case we're going to use a single view application. Click on Next. We will call our project My First Cool App. Please make sure that nothing is clicked here. So I don't want you to use storyboards. I don't want you to use automatic reference counting. I don't want you to use include unit tests here in this video. Later on, we're going to talk about these settings. However, not now. So please continue via clicking on the next button. Okay, so for this project here, I created a folder on my desktop, which you see here. It's called iPhone tutorial videos. So, and there I will create my project. Click on create to do the same thing. Okay, boom. Now we have our first iPhone application. For those of you who are new to the iPhone app programming topic, please bear in mind the things you see here at first glance might look very overwhelming. However, it's not that difficult at all. However, we cannot talk about all this here in detail. What I will explain to you right now is, for instance, this area here and the other area in this part here, because it's very important. Okay, let's just start off with the area which is called the project navigator. Okay, in your project, you see these folders here: supporting files, frameworks, products. These folders are not important right now. In the future, I will talk about, and I will discuss those topics in other videos. What you need to know in order to program our first application is the distinction between what is an app delegate and what is a view controller. Okay, first of all, an app delegate is basically a class or the 2 files you see here, an appdelegate.h, a .m file, which function as the notifications which are sent to the operating system, in this case to our iOS on our iPhone. So these two files send notifications whether your application is being launched or has been launched, or whether it was terminated or not. So these two files here are very important, and yeah, they're pretty essential to your iPhone, to your application in general, because if you don't have those two files, you cannot launch your application. And there you also modify what should be happening while launching. For instance, if you want to launch some specific files, if you want to launch a specific view controller. Okay, so these two files are very important. Secondly, we have a view controller. So what is a view controller? A view controller is a class that basically manages a set of views that make up a position of your app's user interface. Okay, so it resizes and layouts its views, it adjusts the contents of the views, and it acts on behalf on the views when the user interacts with them. So now you know what a view controller does. However, so what is a view? A UI view is nothing else than a class that defines a rectangular area on the screen and the interfaces for managing the content in that area. So basically, you have this rectangular area here, and this is your view, and what is on the view will be displayed. And all this view here is controlled by your view controller, basically said. Okay, so now you know the most important things. Okay, so furthermore, I will show you two different methods of how to create an iPhone app. Firstly, I will show you how to create an iPhone app via the interface builder, and secondly, how to program completely manually an iPhone app. As I already told you previously, we will use three UI elements: a UILabel, a UITextfield, and a UILabel. Okay, let's start off by creating those three elements via the interface builder. So what is the interface builder? The interface builder basically is the whole area here. So for instance, if you click on the files owner, there you see the connections inspector, you see the size inspector, attributes inspector. So you have many different divisions here. For instance, here, if you click on them, you see different options. For instance, you can also decide if you have a UI element. For instance, let's just drag and drop this UI label here, down here. You can decide the width and the height of your label. So if you click on that here, you can also define the other properties and attributes and so on. In this case, I will also define the text displayed here, and I'm gonna call it my first cool label. Okay, so you see it. So this is my first UI element. I'm gonna also use a UI button. So this one here. I'm gonna make it a little bigger. Okay. And I'm gonna call it my first cool button. Okay. So, and lastly, we also need a UI text field. This little thing here. Okay. And this here needs a placeholder text. My first cool text field. Okay, so you see we have our three elements, UI elements, and now let's just take a look at it. If your app works or not. I just click on run. So if you click on run, then Xcode compiles your app and it launches in a iPhone app simulator. This takes a while, and here you go. So this is our first iPhone application. As you can see, we have our UI text field, our UI button, and our UI label. So that was pretty easy so far. This is not really difficult at all. As you can see, we just basically dragged and dropped our UI elements into a view controller. However, what is important and interesting in this case is we would like to, let's put it this way, we would like to manipulate our UI elements. What do I mean by that? First of all, if you introduce some text here, for instance, this is a cool app, we want to make this text appear down here where it says my first cool label. As a result, we will override this text here with that text coming from the UITextfield. And how should that be triggered? By clicking on this button. As you can see, nothing happens. Good, let's just do it. Okay, stop this simulator and let's move on to our viewcontroller.h file. So the viewcontroller.h file is basically the file where you declare your instance variables, and in your viewcontroller.m file you use those instance variables and you tell them what are their properties and what should be done basically in your app or in your view control in this case. Okay, as we already have our three UI elements created with our interface builder, we also have to declare them here via using our classes, which is in this case, for instance, UILabel, and you set the pointer for the UILabel, which in this case is my first cool label. Same goes for this here, UIButton, called my first cool button, and UITextfield, you call it my first cool text field. Okay, let's just indent it a little. Okay, so you can read it better. Okay,